I'm informed that the road marking team of the TRMSU operates with a local workforce of 8 employees, consisting of 3 painters and 5 tradesmen assistants. To maximize its efficiency, the team executes road safety and traffic management improvements through 2 distinct operational arms, that is, an in-house civil works team, and secondly, an in-house road marking team, which does center lines, edge lines, yellow lines, pedestrian crossings, and directional arrows, which are critical to road safety. Deputy Speaker, sir, for major, highly specialized and large-scale projects, my ministry avails the services of 2 specialized contractors under a framework agreement. The services of these contractors are engaged to supplement our in-house capacity. For the benefit of the House, I wish to clarify that the statutory responsibility for the maintenance of road markings, Deputy Speaker, sir, is clearly demarcated under Section 4 of the Road Traffic Act, Section 28 of the Road Traffic Act, and Section 52A of the Local Government Act. Under these legal frameworks, the statutory responsibility for the remarking and maintenance of road markings is explicitly divided based on road classification. That is, for classified roads and main roads, it is under the responsibility of the Road Development Authority, and for subsidiary and secondary roads under the local government, meaning municipal council, municipal council and village councils. Right? I'm stressing on this point because time and again there's a misconception from among the public that the TRMSU or my ministry is responsible for all of that, but that is not the case. The law is very clear on this. More, Deputy Speaker, sir, as a matter of established operational practice, the TRMSU holds direct responsibility for the initial provision, however, and layout of road markings associated with on-street parking restrictions, while the ongoing upkeep and maintenance of all lines, like I said earlier, falls under the responsibility of the Highway Authority. Now, furthermore, the TRMSU retains the end-to-end operational responsibility. Turning to Part A of the question, Deputy Speaker, sir, I am tabling a copy of the scheme of service of painters and tradesmen's assistants, which is here. I would like to highlight that the daily output of the road marking team is governed by a predetermined, approved task work, sir. Regarding Part B of the question, Deputy Speaker, sir, the road marking team is deployed island-wide. My ministry receives a vast number of requests from MPs, local authorities, public bodies, and citizens. Given our current in-house manpower and budgetary provisions, it is not always possible to satisfy every request. However, we do our best, right, within the budgetary. So I'm nearing soon. While all requests are fully justified and have some degree of urgency, and it is tackled on a case-to-case basis. Deputy Speaker, sir, in response to Part C of the question, I am informed that establishment of road marking teams consists of 3 permanent painters, 2 permanent tradesmen assistant, and 3 temporary tradesmen assistant. None of these positions are currently held on contract basis, as originally thought in the question.
Yes.
Will the Minister inform the House the time frame between the approval and the implementation of the road markings and raised pedestrian crossing?
Like I said, if it is a matter of urgency, I can talk to the honourable member, and if the team at the localities there are not, performing to the extent possible, Honourable Akechil also spoke to me lately, I'm going to perhaps contemplate a reshufflement of engineers and technical officers so that, things get moving in a more dynamic way.
The Honourable Third Member for Vieux-Grand-Port, Roosevelt.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. PQB 1096.
Thank you very much, sir. Honourable Member. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I'm informed that out of the 14 fisheries posts under the purview of the Ministry, 3 are located in the constituency number 11, Vieux-Grand-Port and Roosevelt, namely Grand-Port Southeast Fisheries Post, Bambou-Vieilleux Fisheries Post, and Mabel Fisheries Post. Now, a total of 21 applications for fishermen cards have been received at these 3 fisheries posts during the past year. 5 applications at Grand-Rivière Southeast, 8 applications at Bambou-Vieilleux, and 8 applications at Mabel. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I'm informed that all these 21 applications cannot be processed for the time being as they do not meet the eligible criteria as follows, and I will highlight those criteria. The applicant fishers ought to have submitted a valid certificate of character. Unfortunately, none of them has submitted such a certificate. 2, the applicant fisher has to submit a recommendation letter from a registered line and fish aggregating device of lagoon fisher, attesting that the applicant fisher is fishing along with the registered fisher in his boat. Now, in 16 applications, the applicants have not submitted such a recommendation letter. The fishing activities of the applicant fisher shall be monitored for a consecutive period of 6 months, and the fisher shall have fished at least 75% of the fishing days, excluding bad weather days, Sundays, and public holidays in a month. None of these 16 applicant fishers has provided a record of the catch, and therefore they are deemed not to be engaged in fishing activities. The applicants have been informed to submit the required documents, following which the applications will be considered. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I refer the honourable member to replies made to PQ B/987 at the sitting of 11th November 2025 and PQ B/38 at the sitting of 17th March 2026, respectively, where I had informed the House that our lagoons have been overexploited and depleted over the years. In fact, during the period 2022-2024, a total of 1,190 fishermen cards were issued, out of which 709 fishermen cards were issued in the year 2024 only. It is to be highlighted that in September 2024, 416 new fishermen were issued just prior to general elections. Now, with a view to allow lagoons to rejuvenate, registered artisanal fishers are being encouraged to fish off lagoon and around fish aggregating devices. Grant of 300,000 rupees per eligible fisher for the purchase of canot and 1 million rupees for individual fisher for the purchase of semi-industrial fishing vessels are being provided. 6 million are being allocated to cooperative societies for the purchase of semi-industrial fishing vessels of less than 24 meters.
Yes.
I thank the Honourable Minister. From a reply to a previous PQ addressed to the Honourable Minister, I recall that it was not a prerequisite to obtain a valid certificate, save and except for conviction in respect of drug dealing cases. Is that still the case?
No, drug dealing cases, of course, we cannot entertain. But in relation to what you've said, I have taken up the issue with the officers and the Permanent Secretary. This is the advice and reply given to me. But nothing stops us. If you want to come to the office, we certainly can have a talk and see what can be done to entertain some of the applications of some of the apprentice fishers. All right?
Yes.
Could the Honourable Minister indicate to the House whether his ministry intends, obviously I've taken note of his reply, but whether his ministry intends to issue new fisherman's card, and if so, a timeline as to say?
If there are cases which deserve to be processed, no problem. If there are deserving cases, otherwise I've highlighted the problem that you're currently facing. Our lagoon is depleted, and we have to allow, our lagoons to be restored, giving it the necessary time and measures taken to allow to.
Honourable Third Member for Portlaoise South and Portlaoise Central.
B1097, please. Monsieur le Vice-président, et le règlement 2026, donc sur l'efficacité énergétique, est entré en vigueur le 1er mai 2026 et demeurant applicable jusqu'au 1er novembre 2026. Ce règlement vise à limiter l'utilisation de l'électricité du réseau pour certaines activités non essentielles, notamment l'éclairage décoratif, l'illumination extérieure des bâtiments lorsqu'elle n'est pas requise pour des raisons de sécurité, l'utilisation de la climatisation dans les locaux non résidentiels à une température de 24 degrés, ainsi que le maintien de l'éclairage des terrains de jeu extérieurs lorsqu'ils ne sont pas utilisés. Il convient de souligner que ces dispositions ne s'appliquent pas au secteur résidentiel. De même, les services essentiels et les infrastructures critiques telles que les hôpitaux, les cliniques, les aéroports, etc., ne sont exemptés de ces restrictions. Cette mesure a été approuvée par le gouvernement dans le contexte des tensions géopolitiques persistantes au Moyen-Orient et de leurs répercussions sur les marchés mondiaux. Elle vise à atténuer les effets de la volatilité des prix du fuel. Monsieur le vice-président, concernant la partie A de la question, le règlement vise une réduction durable de la demande d'électricité d'environ 5 MW par jour, d'environ 5 MW. En hiver, on arrive à le faire. J'espère qu'en été, c'est le cas. Sur l'ensemble de la période d'application, soit le 1er mai au 1er novembre 2026, cette réduction devrait permettre une économie estimée à 4 500 tonnes métriques de fuel HFO, 4 500 métriques tonnes. Monsieur le vice-président, les mesures que comprennent notamment ces règlements, un système de signalement par le public, donc un numéro de téléphone, la collaboration de la police, nous travaillons en collaboration, IMO et la police, des inspections ciblées sur le terrain, des actions de sensibilisation et d'information. Concernant la partie B de la question, je tiens à préciser que le règlement prévoit une approche progressive en matière d'application, privilégiant d'abord les mesures correctives avant toute sanction. Lorsqu'un cas de non-conformité est constaté, à la suite d'une inspection et après réception d'une plainte, l'IMO de mon ministère émet un avis formel de conformité, précisant la nature de l'infraction et accordant généralement un délai de 5 jours pour y remédier. Monsieur le vice-président, l'IMO, comme je disais un peu plus tôt, privilégie avant tout une approche basée sur la sensibilisation, la coopération et l'accompagnement des opérateurs. Donc, depuis l'entrée en vigueur du règlement, nous avons eu 92 plaintes qui ont été enregistrées, 81 inspections ont été réalisées. L'IMO a émis 29 avis de conformité. Parmi les organisations concernées, 17 ont déjà mis en œuvre les mesures correctives, donc c'est un bon signe, et informé l'IMO. Des inspections de suivi sont actuellement en cours de vérifier. Et actuellement, il n'y a aucune poursuite.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether his ministry will consider extending this programme after the 1st of November this year, taking into consideration the whims and fancies of the warring parties in the Middle East, particularly the Strait of Hormuz?
Disons que ce règlement c'est pour 6 mois. J'ai amené ça au cabinet au Conseil des ministres qui a été approuvé pour 6 mois dans le cadre de ce qui s'est passé au Moyen-Orient avec le prix des cargaisons que nous recevons. Certainement, nous allons étudier, l'IMO, Marina et le CEB vont étudier la possibilité d'extendre. Si c'est nécessaire d'extendre, on va extendre, bien sûr.
OK, last one.
May I ask the Honourable Minister whether his ministry will consider the mandatory use of solar panel to lighten designs, publicities on malls, shopping malls, and also on classified roads.
Très bonne proposition. Je transmettrai cela aux collectivités locales et au ministère des Infrastructures publiques.
The Honourable First Member for Waqf-Royal.
B 1098, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the House may wish to note that the atmospheric pollution issue in the area of Lato-Kenik, Residence Coquillage, is not a new one. I'm aware that recurrent complaints have been received from inhabitants regarding odor nuisance, black smoke, and deposits of black soot emanating from industries in the industrial area adjoining the residential zone of Lato-Kenik. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to part A of the question, I'm informed that over the past 5 years, 22 complaints relating to odor and black smoke nuisances, including deposit of black soot, have been received in the concerned area. and a total of 10 ambient air monitoring exercises have been carried out during that period by the National Environmental Laboratory of my ministry. Recently, all their complaints were received at the level of my ministry on the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th of July 2026. The complaints were promptly attended by officers of my ministry, including Police de l'Environnement and the National Environmental Laboratory. I'm informed that on the 8th of July 2026, the order nuisance was caused by an accidental overflow of oil from the thermal oil tank at one of the industries in the region. The oil was contained and collected on the same day in an intermediate bulk container tank. Additionally, on the 10th and 11th July 2026, there were alleged liquefied petroleum gas-like odor nuisances reported by the inhabitants of La Tour-Kénique. Accordingly, the National Environmental Laboratory of my ministry carried out 4 ambient air monitoring exercises by using gaseous analyzers during the period 9th July 2026 to 11th July 2026 in the La Tour-Kénique area. No dangerous level of the toxic gases were detected at the time of measurement. I'm tabling a copy of the report submitted by the National Environmental Laboratory. So, Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that, conscious of the need to ensure the safety of inhabitants, my ministry has since 2022 installed 2 air quality sensors at La Tour-Kénique to monitor ambient air quality in the real time. The sensors continuously monitor 4 parameters, namely particulate matter, PM10 and PM2.5, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and ozone. It is to be noted that the monitoring results from the sensors for that period were also compliant with the Environment Protection Standards of Air for Air Regulations 1998. I'm further informed that the 2 industries in the area, namely CMT and Fine Cross Limited, are being monitored through post-environmental impact assessment monitoring and industrial waste audit mechanisms. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the question, under the post-environmental impact assessment monitoring mechanism, the industries are required to submit environmental monitoring reports comprising stack and ambient air monitoring on a quarterly and yearly basis, respectively. The industry where recent complaints have been received had submitted its last environmental monitoring report on the 17th March 2026. Air monitoring results for both stack and ambient conducted in February 2026 showed that the parameters measured are within the norms of Environment Protection Standards for Air Regulations 1998. I wish to point out that the concerned industry is monitored on a monthly basis. The last report was submitted in March 2026 for monitoring tests conducted in February 2026 at the level of a preliminary environmental report, environmental impact assessment, and strategic environment assessment monitoring committee. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, under the industrial waste audit mechanism, there are 2 listed industries in the immediate vicinity of the residence courtyard, which are required to submit progress reports on the environmental management plan to my ministry annually. As part of this report, they have to submit ambient air and stack emissions monitoring results as applicable. I wish to inform the House that 1 non-compliance was observed in the period 5th to 28th October 2021. Level of sulfur dioxide was not compliant on several occasions. With regards to one of the industries, namely CMP, accordingly, the industry was requested to implement remedial measures. Thereafter, additional conditions with respect to air monitoring were imposed in 2022 in the EI license, namely submission of stack monitoring on a quarterly basis and ambient air quality monitoring to be carried out within the nearest residential agglomeration on a yearly basis. To date, no non-compliances have been noted.
Yes.
Je vous remercie. L'honorable ministre a mentionné les Standards Air Regulations qui datent de 1998. Pourrait-il nous dire quand est-ce que le ministère va revoir ces standards puisqu'ils sont clairement obsolètes?
These standards are in the process of being reviewed. We are long overdue.
Des questions?
J'ai pris note qu'il a mentionné qu'il y a des stations qui ont été positionnées à la Tour-Kénique précisément. Je voudrais savoir si l'honorable ministre est au courant que les émissions de fumée de cette usine dont il a fait mention deviennent plus denses et plus importantes aux alentours de 19 heures. Donc, est-ce que le ministère a mis en place dans son programme de monitoring une surveillance spécifique à ces heures-là et dans cette région? Est-ce que les résultats pourraient être rendus publics sur le site du ministère pour rassurer les habitants?
Deputy Speaker, the constant monitoring about CMT and other industries. These industries are new, and Coquillage was set up in housing estate well after the industries were there. So we are monitoring, and we have no problem in putting on the website. But as far as I'm concerned, I've not received any complaint as such, even the MPs or country. So we will be monitoring constantly, and we've got to prevent the industries working as well.
The Honourable First Member for Montagne Blanche, Grande Rivière Southeast.
Une dernière, s'il vous plaît, parce qu'il a mentionné qu'il n'y a pas eu de complainte.
Okay, last one.
L'honorable ministre a fait mention qu'il n'y a pas eu de complainte des MPs. Vous-même, vous aviez déjà fait des complaintes dans le passé. Il y a eu des complaintes des députés de cette circonscription depuis 20 ans. Et du coup, je devais demander à l'honorable ministre, est-ce que son ministère a fait la liaison avec le ministère de la Santé pour évaluer les impacts sur la santé de ces habitants qui se plaignent de problèmes de bronches, de toutes sortes de problèmes de santé depuis des années?
I don't know if you have talked to the Engineer Minister, but you have not talked to me. You have not informed as far as you're concerned. But I have not received any complaint as such with my colleague. So if I had received complaint, I would have acted. So I would have acted promptly, my way of working. So anyway, we are monitoring, and this question of Lato-Clinic and industry is not a new problem. So there is permanent monitoring. You have to update whatever norms we have to, but we also care for the inhabitants.
The Honourable First Member for Montagne Blanche.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Sir, B1099.
I wish to thank the Honourable Member for bringing this question before the House. The Mauritius Society for Animal Welfare operates within existing budgetary and human resource constraints. Despite these constraints, the MSO remains fully committed to fulfilling its statutory mandate of promoting animal welfare, enforcing the relevant provisions of the law, responding to complaints, and encouraging responsible pet ownership. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the MSO and the Ministry continue to explore measures aimed at strengthening animal welfare and addressing the issue of stray dogs in a more sustainable manner. It is noted that assistance from experts to the Indian High Commission has already been solicited to support these efforts, and collaboration with other international experts and organizations with proven experience in the management of stray dog populations is being explored. As the House is aware, the Ministry has secured grant assistance from the Government of India, estimated at 2 billion rupees, for the implementation of the Animal Hospital and Veterinary School project. In this context, the project is being revised to extend its scope to include the construction of a sizable sanctuary for dogs, thereby enhancing the country's capacity to provide appropriate care and welfare for stray and abandoned dogs. Discussions have been initiated with the Indian High Commission of India in Mauritius to revise the scope of the project. With regards to Part A of the question, I'm informed by MSO that a total of 3,790 dogs were captured under the Catch, Neuter, Release program over the past 12 months all over the island. As regards Part A2 of the question, I'm informed that the exact location of the capture is recorded using GPS pin location at time of capture. After being microchipped with details identifying them as unowned dogs, ear tag, sterilized with status regarding capture release location, 1,966 stray dogs have been released following full recovery from surgery into the same locality where they were originally captured. 1,486 dogs have been handed over to the care of volunteers and rescuers who regularly look after them in their respective localities. All information is recorded in the database of MSOR. However, some dogs are retained at the MSOR base on specific circumstances. Under the CNR program, stray dogs which cannot be released are accommodated at MSOR shelter facilities, and during the financial year 2025-2026, MSOR sheltered around 160 dogs. Other circumstances include ongoing police cases, persistent aggressive behavior, or severe illness. Euthanasia is also carried out where deemed necessary based on human veterinary grounds in accordance with the provisions of the Animal Welfare Act 2013, as well as established veterinary protocol. 178 dogs have been euthanized in the financial year 2025-2026. Mr. Deputy Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, you may wish to note that MSOR is accountable to my ministry for the implementation and outcome of its program.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Yes, I thank the Honourable Minister for his answer. Given that each dog is ear-tagged or microchipped, with geolocation recorded at capture, will the Honourable Minister ask MSOR to publish the auditable register matching capture location to release location for every dog processed?
I would have no problem to impress upon them to give us the information, and then I will circulate it.
Yes, you have another one?
Yes, Honourable Minister, there have been reference to serious allegations that transfer of captured dogs and cats from the MSOR to a private company. Has any investigation been carried out into that?
As far as I know, I've not heard any adverse report, but if you have substantive cases, or please, by all means, give them to me.
The Honourable First Member for Pito-Guéjugofa, I understand the Honourable Minister of Health will reply to that question.
B. 1100.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with your permission, I shall reply to this question. Stillbirth is defined as birth of a baby showing no signs of life at or after 28 completed weeks of gestation. It is a tragic event with significant emotional, psychological, and social consequences for the mother and the family. The causes of stillbirth are multifactorial and may be related to maternal, fetal, or placental factors. These include maternal conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, infections, obesity, and other chronic diseases, fetal abnormalities, growth restrictions and infections, as well as placental insufficiency, placental abruption, and umbilical cord complications. Despite thorough investigations, the cause remains unexplained in a proportion of cases. According to Statistics Mauritius, the overall number of stillbirths has shown a declining trend over the recent years, decreasing from 141 cases in 2020 to a provisional figure of 105 cases in 2025. The predicted figure for 2026 is 97 cases based on data available from January to April 2026. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the principles and provisions of a national loss and bereavement support policy are fully embedded within our comprehensive National Sexual and Reproductive Health Policy 2022 and its accompanying implementation plan 2022 to 2027, prepared with the technical support of WHO. The documents are available in the Ministry for perusal. Within this comprehensive framework, the delivery of medical, psychological, and social support to women and families experiencing pregnancy loss is provided for inter alia, psychological care and referral pathways to hospital psychologists and psychiatrists where required, support from medical social workers for families experiencing social or emotional difficulties, strengthening the training of healthcare professionals in maternal health and bereavement sensitive care, and home visit by midwives and community health care officers for assessment, counseling, and support. a patient-centered, respectful and life course approach to sexual and reproductive health services, integration of postnatal clinics at primary health care level to ensure continued follow-up of mothers, and to summarize a comprehensive antenatal, intrapartum and postnatal care. Following a stillbirth, mothers receive comprehensive medical care, including delivery and postnatal management. Appropriate investigations to identify the likely causes of a stillbirth were indicated. Counseling regarding the findings and advice for future pregnancies. Emotional and psychological support is provided by the attending obstetric and midwifery teams. When necessary, women and their families are referred to psychologists, psychiatrists, or medical social workers for specialized assessment and counseling. Particular attention is given to women exhibiting prolonged grief, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, suicidal ideation, or difficulties in subsequent pregnancies, so that timely intervention and follow-up can be provided. In addition, under Workers' Rights Act, women who experience a stillbirth are entitled to the same statutory maternity leave as mothers of live-born babies, thereby allowing adequate time for physical recovery, emotional healing, and appropriate follow-up. My ministry is also examining the introduction of a maternal and perinatal death surveillance and response (MPDSR) program, which will enable every maternal and perinatal deaths, including stillbirth, to be systematically reviewed in order to identify avoidable factors, improve quality of care, and reduce preventable deaths. Finally, prevention remains the cornerstone of our strategy. All pregnant women continue to have access to free, comprehensive antenatal and obstetric care, including preconception care, early booking, regular antenatal follow-up, laboratory investigation, obstetric ultrasound examination, screening and treatment of maternal condition, fetal growth monitoring, specialist surveillance of high-risk pregnancies, and timely referral to specialist obstetric services. My ministry remains fully committed to continuously strengthening maternal and newborn health services in line with international best practices.
I wish to thank the Minister, the Honourable Minister, for his reply, but I wish also to know, in his substantive capacity, whether the Ministry of Gender, Equality and Family Welfare is working with the Ministry of Health, is collaborating with the Ministry of Health in working on a national pregnancy loss and bereavement support policy.
The answer is in the positive. Definitely, we have got regular meetings with officials of the ministry.
The Honourable Second Member for Belarus, Katbo.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. B1101.
Deputy Speaker, sir, the allocation of taxi licenses for any locality is determined based on the level of bus services available thereat, the number of taxi licenses already granted, if any, and the adequacy or otherwise of taxi services available to residents to meet their 24-hour needs, along with other relevant considerations such as population figure and existence of social, residential and economic activities within the area. With regard to Part A of the question, Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed by the NLTA that once the need for granting taxi licenses is identified in a specific area, applications are invited through public communique issued by the NLTA. Interested applicants must satisfy the following eligibility criteria. Number 1, residence. Number 2, licensing. They must be licensed taxi operators. Commitment to service. Prior history. Employment status. Student status. Record of conviction. That means they must not be employed, they must not be students, they should not have criminal record. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the question, these applications are subsequently inquired into individually by the Inspectorate of the NLTA, heard by the Licensing Board, which then submits its recommendation to the Chief Commissioner for approval or rejection in accordance with the relevant provisions under the National Land Transport Authority Act and applicable regulations. Due to the acute shortage of road transport inspectors, with only 15 inspectors in post out of 45 on establishment, considerable delays have been registered in the completion of assessments of needs, inquiries and processing of applicants in respect of taxis and other licenses. And we are doing our level best to recruit, because prior to the election, no recruitment was done. And in 2014, there were 51, if I'm told, and today we have only 15 road transport inspectors. That is why the level of service at the NLTA has dropped considerably. In regard to taxi, specifically to taxi, Deputy Speaker, sir, I am advised that my ministry instructed the NLTA some 6 months ago to carry out an island-wide survey in order to assess the required number of licenses to be issued, including at commercial centres and hotels. While seeking information for the purpose of this PQ, my ministry has been informed that by the NLTA that no island-wide survey has been carried out to assess the demand for taxi licenses at various localities. I am given to understand that the survey relating to commercial centres is being carried out, but that has not been completed. As regard to hotels, a report on the survey has been carried out in September 2022, has been submitted, and this report is being considered valid for present licensing needs. As the House is aware, the NLTA, besides issuing licenses, conducts a lot of other activities. But then, while acknowledged that the fact that NLTA is working with a significant level of inspectorate staff, I am convinced that the office was given a reasonably long time to complete the island-wide survey. For taxi-wise, I must say that I'm utterly disappointed by the inaction of the NLTA on that issue, and I've given the officer in charge a strong piece of my mind on this very embarrassing matter. In the context, giving a tentative time frame for the processing and issue of the licenses for taxis, as requested by the Honourable Member, may be difficult, but I wish to assure the House that the PSC, following advertisement only last year, has conducted interviews, and additional inspectors will soon be appointed. The OIC NLTA has meanwhile been officially requested to complete the survey and to come up with a work plan to expedite the processing and determination of all pending and new applications. Deputy Speaker, sir, to end, with regard to part C of the question, I am informed that there are 293 taxi licenses already granted to residents in constituency number 18, which has a population of around 81,000 inhabitants. These taxis ply for hire from 30 bases of operation. As mentioned earlier, the NLTA has been requested to complete the survey on the need for taxis, including in constituency number 18. It will be therefore be premature at this stage to know how many licenses will eventually be granted for that constituency. Based on the outcome of this exercise, applications will, if deemed necessary, be invited from residents of the localities concerned, and this is applicable island-wide.
Yes.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. Je remercie le ministre pour sa réponse. Given the increasing population, commercial activities and transport demand in constituency number 18, will the Honourable Minister consider allocating an adequate number of taxi licenses to residents of Belrose, Quatre-Bornes? Thank you, Mr.
Deputy Speaker, sir, like I mentioned earlier, there are 293 taxi operators for 80,000 population. This amount to about 276 person for one taxi. But then the rule of thumb is 1 to 600. But then there are many out of them who maybe are not operating anymore, either because of age, because they have passed away, or whatever reason. That is why the survey is important to determine the real need of the movement.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. Can the Minister inform the House how many applications or expressions of interest for taxi licenses are currently pending with the National Land Transport Authority? Thank you.
My understanding is quite a bit. That is why I have impressed on the officer in charge of the NLTA, Mr. Nabi Bakas, to complete this exercise ASAP.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In the same vein, may I request the Honourable Minister of Transport to also look into all the applications that emanate from the people of constituency number 9, namely l'Almaty Market Fair, Flac Super U, NHDC Canitier, NHDC Katoko, in all these areas whereby I confirm that surveys have been carried out
Minister?
and are dormant
Excuse me.
at the NLTA.
Honourable Member, the Honourable Minister has answered this question by saying that there's a survey to be done nationwide. And then
I'm informing the Honourable
Yes,
Minister that
you
the
have
survey
to
has
request.
been carried out. Therefore,
Okay.
can he urge the NLTA and his equally dormant officer in charge to please look into it? Thank you.
Okay, you have already replied.
We'll give the officer in charge a wake-up call on this.
Okay. Now your question, Mr. Honourable Mitchell. You have a
Yes,
question?
Mr. Deputy Speaker. B1102, s'il vous plaît.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, at the outset, I wish to thank the honourable member for raising this important question. A dedicated Bhojpuri Cultural Centre is indeed a good idea. It would provide a permanent platform for the promotion of the Bhojpuri music, traditions and cultural expressions, and should find its place in our future cultural landscape. The Bhojpuri language and the traditions associated with it form an integral part of our national identity and intangible cultural heritage. Since 2012, their promotion has been entrusted to the Bhojpuri-speaking union operating under the aegis of my ministry. However, when we assumed office, we inherited a union that had been left largely dormant under the previous government and had not even been provided with a dedicated office from which to operate. This government has given new momentum to the union through the appointment of Mrs. Varsharani Bisesar as its chairperson. As a well-known Mauritian singer with a strong connection to Bhojpuri culture, she has an artistic experience and ability to give greater visibility to the language and its cultural expressions. The Apravasi Ghat Trust Fund is also playing a vital role under this government through its work in research, education, documentation, and the preservation of the cultural heritage inherited from the indentured laborers. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, there are currently 34 parastatal bodies operating under the aegis of my ministry. As announced by the Honourable Prime Minister in the Budget Speech 2026-2027, Government will review and streamline these institutions to strengthen governance, avoid duplication, and ensure the optimal use of public resources. The proposal for a Bhojpuri Cultural Centre will naturally form part of this broader reflection on the future institutional landscape of the cultural sector. As this exercise progresses, my ministry will continue to explore the most appropriate configurations to give the Bhojpuri language and culture a stronger and more permanent framework.
No question. Honourable members, the chair has been advised that B1104-1112 has been withdrawn. So the Honourable fourth member for Holding.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B1103, please.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I don't know whether the reply I will give to your question will be music to your ears, but this is the answer that has been relayed. Thank you. Mr. Deputy Speaker, with regard to part A of the question, I'm informed by the Agricultural Marketing Board and Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited that over the past 12 months, there has been no reported case of spoilage and no reported delay in the delivery of imported fruits and vegetables through maritime transportation from Rodrigue to Port Louis. Now, I wish to point out that vessels from Rodrigue arrive at Port Louis usually in the late afternoon, with priority necessarily given to the unloading of livestock pens in compliance with Animal Welfare Convention. Vegetable carriers and reefer containers are accordingly processed on the following day, following which the associated container services liaises with the National Plant Protection Office for the required phytosanitary inspection. Upon verification of the inter-island phytosanitary certificate and no damage observed on the consignment, the National Plant Protection Office clearance is then granted. Now, the consignments are therefore released to the importers for onward distribution after completion of the mandatory National Plant Protection Office and custom clearances. With regard to Part B1 of the question, I'm informed that the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited is working towards improving the efficiency of the shipment and handling of agricultural produce between Rodrigue and Mauritius and has made available additional chill containers to shippers. However, I must point out these facilities being made available, despite these facilities being made available, many shippers have continued to opt for ventilated or aerated containers for the carriage of the fruits. With regard to Part B2 of the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm informed that the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited is maintaining and making available a fleet of 18 reefer containers, including dedicated units for chilled and frozen products, to support the cold chain requirements of shippers. Now, at this stage, the emphasis is on the effective utilization and management of existing reefer capacity rather than the provision of additional fixed cold storage facilities. With regard to Part B3 of the question, I'm informed that whenever a claim relating to loss or spoilage is reported, the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited assesses the claim and investigates the supporting evidence submitted by the claimant. Where the evidence satisfactorily substantiates the loss, compensation is considered in accordance with the applicable procedures. As of now, no reported claim has been obtained. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the Ministry remains committed to ensuring the efficient maritime transportation and proper handling of perishable agricultural produce between Rodrigue and Mauritius, while continuing to monitor the supply chain closely.
Yes, Honourable Leader.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I thank the Honourable Minister for his reply. May I ask the Honourable Minister, what are the procedures for complaints of spoilage, please?
Well, if there is any complaint, it can be reported to the Ministry or even to the Commissioner responsible for agriculture in Rodrigue. Okay, as you know, there's good interactive conversation meetings, and if you have a reliable case, I'll certainly look into it and see to it that corrective measures are taken. And if there's a claim, the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited will certainly look into it.
The Honourable Second Member for Belrose-Calvo.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. B1105.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I wish to refer the Honourable Member to my reply to PQB 1088 at the sitting of the 25th of November 2025. The initial request was for the widening of the road from Palma roundabout to the Palma Marathi Sabha. As a matter of priority, I'm informed that the widening of the access road will, in the first instance, be limited to the part from St. Marie College to Palma Marathi Sabha. I'm given to understand that this project would necessitate the relocation of electric and telecom poles, and to that effect, discussions are ongoing with the Central Electricity Board and Mauritius Telecom. Once this issue is sorted out, the Ministry of Local Government will be in a position to revert to my ministry for acquisition of the private land that would be required for the project.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. Given that the phase 1 of a proposed widening of La Seringue Avenue involves both state land and private lands, would the Honourable Minister indicate whether discussions with the private landowners have started, and if not, when they are expected to begin? Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as I've stated in my reply, at this particular juncture, it is too early to start those discussions. However, once the issues that I've raised are sorted out in terms of the obstructions that need to be moved from Telecom and Central Electricity Board, the Ministry of Local Government will then revert to my ministry for the acquisition of the land that would be required. So since all this is interconnected, once we get that note from the Ministry of Local Government, we'll be in a better position to know the size of the land, then we will be in a better position to decide how to apply the law to such acquisition.
Une dernière, merci. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether the requests for access over state land ont été examinés by his ministry, and if so, at what stage of consideration it presently stands? Thank you.
I think I've said that in the past, and I think there was a site visit that was carried out on the spot by various other ministries. I believe the Honourable Member was also present at one point in time. So what we're going to do is, we have said we are agreeable. We are agreeable. That's very clear. I know that for this particular subject, people living in the vicinity, people from that constituency, that particular area, have waited for many, many, many years. And we have considered those requests positively, because they are very constructive and very positive requests. So that's why we have said yes. And obviously, members of Parliament of that region have also convinced us that it is important, so we will be going along that line. So let us wait now for the letter from the Ministry of Local Government, and then we can take things forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Honourable Third Member for Port Resource.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. B1106, please.
Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed by the TRMSU of my ministry that representations regarding the pressing road safety concerns in Cité Briqueterie and Barthé-Cassé have indeed been received. Relevant proposals and valuable feedback on the issues have also been received from the Honourable Kazien, for which I wish to express my thanks to him. Deputy Speaker, sir, both Cité Briqueterie and Barthé-Cassé are highly urbanized, densely populated areas adjacent to Rochebois. Their road networks are characterized by narrow lanes and significant pedestrian movement. In such environments, speeding vehicles pose an immediate and severe threat to vulnerable road users, and accidents risks are high indeed. To address this undesirable situation, the TRMSU has carried out a comprehensive traffic safety assessment in both localities to identify immediate, targeted and preventive interventions. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am pleased to inform the House that the TRMSU will soon implement a robust package of traffic calming and regulatory measures as follows. Firstly, traffic conflicts at critical junctions will be resolved by repainting stop lines with high durability thermoplastic paint and installing reflective diamond-grade stop signs to drastically improve nighttime visibility. And secondly, heavy-duty rubber speed humps will be installed at strategic locations across both neighborhoods to naturally regulate vehicle speeds. Third, designated speed zones will be established across the wider Rochebois region, enforced by high-visible retro-reflective diamond-grade 30-kilometer speed limit signs. With your permission, Deputy Speaker, sir, I am tabling the detailed list of these upcoming works. Deputy Speaker, sir, these swift cost-effective interventions are fully aligned with the United Nations Global Road Safety Target 3 and 4 by reducing operating speeds to 30 kilometers per hour and securing our junctions. We will not only protect pedestrian lives, but also elevate the Rochebois road network to a 3-star rating in an international road assessment program, IRAP, which is called IRAP, or even better. However, Deputy Speaker, sir, infrastructure alone is not enough. Road safety is a shared responsibility that requires the active cooperation of the public and, above all, more compliance and discipline from all road users. To underline the need for public cooperation, may I mention that in May 2025, the Association Group Djibouti Rochebois proactively proposed SLOW, in capital letters, markings 30 km per hour to be put on the road, 30 kilometer regulatory signs and a zebra crossing. Regrettably, the TRMSU was unable to implement these measures at that time due to objections from certain residents. I therefore avail this opportunity to make, Deputy Speaker, to end an earnest appeal to the residents and other stakeholders of Cité Briqueterie and Batricasé as well as the Mauritian community at large, in the spirit of prioritizing collective safety on the roads, in particular to our children, elderly, or vulnerable. I hope to have the support of elected representatives of the locality, including that of Honorable Kazen, which I consider deemed as being de facto, because he came forward with a very well-motivated question on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Monsieur le Vice-président, compte tenu du flux de véhicules qui empruntent ces routes latéraux Batricasé et Briqueterie à vitesse excessive, souvent des fois, est-ce que l'honorable ministre peut considérer avoir des concertations avec la force policière et les autres autorités afin qu'il y ait un exercice de conscientisation pour protéger les habitants de ces régions en attendant que les mesures annoncées puissent être implémentées? Merci.
The measures will be quite safe in nature, like I mentioned, but I can task the engineer in charge of the Port-Louis region to arrange for the meeting being proposed by the honourable member. Will do.
Yes. Honourable Lubin is upset for medical reason, so I take it there will be a written reply. So we move to the next question. The Honourable Fourth Member for Warwick.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B1108, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I would refer to my reply of PQB 738 of the sitting of 19 May 2026, wherein reference was made to the homologation of Jean-Daniel André Stadium, previously Kanjouroi Stadium. As per established procedures, the request for homologation of any facility should emanate from a country's national sport federation representing the sports for which homologation is required. In the case of Jean-Daniel André Stadium, the Roderick Regional Sport Committee should make a request to the concerned National Sport Federation in Mauritius so that the latter make an application to the respective international sport homologation body. Mr. Deputy Speaker, however, I'm informed by the Roderick Commission for Youth and Sport that, as at date, no official request has been obtained from the Roderick Regional Sport Committee for the homologation of Jean-Daniel André Stadium. I'm also informed that the Commission is ready to provide the necessary assistance required for the materialization of the project. As such, it is premature at this stage to establish a time frame for the homologation of Jean-Daniel André Stadium, as same will depend on the time at which the request for homologation is made by the Roderick Regional Sport Committee, and subsequently to follow all the processes that are required by the International Sport Homologation Body. To note, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that my ministry is ready to provide its full technical support to the Roderick Commission for Youth and Sports in this endeavor. The honorable member may request the Roderick Regional Sport Committee to liaise with the Roderick Commission for Youth and Sport if the committee feels that there is a need for homologation.
Yes, you have a question.
Minister, may I ask the Honourable Minister, what are the criteria that must be satisfied for homologation to be entertained? And how can the Ministry accompany the Commission to achieve same? Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, in order for a sport facility to be homologated, there are mandatory requirements that need to be met. For instance, in the case of a football stadium, the requirement includes compliance with inter alia, that is administration and documentation, pitch or field of play, technical areas and equipment, dressing room, team and official facilities, match official, doping and VAR, video assistant referee, a spectator area and seating, safety, security and emergency services, media, press and broadcast, and lighting, power and communications.
Yes. Yeah. May the Honourable Minister specify whether it is the Regional Assembly who has to contact the World Athletics, or is it the Rodrigues Regional Sport Committee who have to contact RA? Then there's also the Mauritius Athletics Association, which I'm not quite sure which one have to contact directly the World Athletics to get this homologation.
I'll just answer in my reply. I clearly stated that the National Sport Federation, representing the sport for which homologation is required. So we have to give it to the federation so that they can do the needful.
The Honourable Third Member for Kauchabiti Amoka.
B1109, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am informed that the building, which was housing the old Muka District Court, was built in the early 1870s under the tenure of Sir Arthur Hamilton Gordon, Governor of Mauritius. In the year 2009, the land, together with the building of the old District Court of Muka, was retrieved from the Judicial Department and was vested in the Prime Minister's office for use by the Police Department. Mr. Deputy Speaker, with regard to Part A of the question, following a request from the National Heritage Fund, the Civil Engineering section of my ministry had, in the first instance, carried out a site inspection at the old District Court of Muka on 15 February 2013. A report comprising the observations on site, made on site, conclusion and recommendation was subsequently submitted to the National Heritage Fund. The site inspection concluded that almost all the structural elements, except the concrete part of the rear of the building, were in advanced stage of deterioration. As such, the building was found to be beyond economic repairs and represented a threat as timber planks and other timber sections might fall at any time. Consequently, it was advised that nobody should have access to the building for security reasons. It was therefore recommended to pull down the building. I am informed that in July 2013, the National Heritage Fund had advised not to demolish the building that accommodated the ex-Muka District Court on the ground that the site is a potential heritage site and bears historical and architectural value, even though the site is not listed as National Heritage. I am also informed that in the year 2016, the National Heritage Fund had recommended the restoration of the old Muka District Court and had informed the police department that it was working on a program to have an experienced restoration architect to prepare the scope of works. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm further informed that another survey was subsequently carried out by the Civil Engineering section of my ministry, along with the officers of the National Heritage Fund in 2023, whereby the National Heritage Fund had recommended the renovation of the building. During the recent survey, it was noted that the building, which is bounded on three sides by tarred accesses, is in a very deplorable state. The police department has informed that it is still awaiting the scope of works from the National Heritage Fund. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to part B of the question, as I mentioned earlier, a first survey was carried out in 2013, followed by another survey in 2023. It is very sad that despite the findings of the 2013 survey, no remedial action was taken by the previous government to restore a building of such historical importance. Consequently, as one would expect, in the absence of remedial measures, the condition of the building could only deteriorate further, as was confirmed by the findings of the 2023 survey. Furthermore, the National Heritage Fund would be requested to expedite matters at its end and to submit the scope of works at the earliest to the Prime Minister's office to allow them to secure the necessary funding.
The Honourable Second Member for Zavan Black River.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B 1110, please.
Thank you very much. I thank the honourable member for putting this question, and I'm sure it will be music to his ears when I lay on the table the national wholesale market loss incurred by agricultural marketing. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to part A of the question, I'm informed by the Agricultural Marketing Board that the national wholesale market came into operation on the 27th of July 2023. With regard to part B of the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with your permission, I'm tabling the requested information, and the operating loss incurred for financial year 2023-2024 is as high as 21 million rupees, 844,000 rupees. Now, I'm informed that the total expenditure incurred for the construction of the national wholesale market amounted to around almost 393 million rupees. Now, I'm further informed that the national wholesale market was expected at its conception to generate income to the tune of 22 million rupees annually, with an annual operating cost of around 15 million. However, the figures table show that the national wholesale market has consistently been incurring substantial loss since its coming into operation, eroding systematically profit made by AMB, Agricultural Marketing Board, thus reducing its capacity to fulfill its mandate. The cumulative losses since the coming into operation of the national wholesale market amount to around 57.7 million rupees, almost like an elephant upon a sandcastle. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to part C of the question, I wish to inform the House that with a view to addressing this alarming situation, the AMB will appoint an independent consultant to work out a turnaround plan which will ensure that the AMB, including the national wholesale market, will over time become financially viable to fulfill its mandate of serving planters, vendors, and consumers.
Yes. The Honourable Third Member for Grand Pouledo.
B1113, please.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. With regard to part A of the question, I wish to inform the House that since November 2024, SME Mauritius Limited has supported 1,271 SMEs directly through its support schemes for a total amount of 117 million rupees. Entrepreneurs on their side have committed to an investment of almost 90 million rupees on projects, and the cumulative turnover for SMEs supported since November 2024 is 7.7 billion rupees, and they have jointly employed 6,594 persons. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I wish to further inform the House that since November 2024, SME Mauritius has interacted with 17,836 entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs for advice, consultancy, support, walk-ins, e-advice or on-site visits. SME Mauritius Limited, being a registered training institution with the Mauritius Qualification Authority, has conducted a series of training programs for both entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. These programs aim at improving the knowledge, competencies, skills, and functional capabilities of entrepreneurs. Accordingly, 756 entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs have been trained to date. Moreover, SME Mauritius Limited has reached out to 3,156 potential entrepreneurs through its outreach program. Additionally, in order to improve the visibility of SMEs, SME Mauritius Limited organizes SME fairs to provide SMEs with a platform and the opportunity to display a range of locally manufactured products, thereby creating awareness and showcasing their savoir-faire. Thus, in the 18 months, SME Mauritius has organized several salons de PME, and with 152 entrepreneurs participating therein and welcoming at least 40,000 visitors. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I wish to inform the House that in an endeavor to encourage the enterprise culture, as soon as I took office as Minister in December 2024, I launched the Entrepreneurship Awareness Program across Mauritius to encourage the entrepreneurial spirit among the population, especially the youth and women, and to encourage them to start their own businesses. The Entrepreneurship Awareness Program was kicked off in Plaine Verte, Plaine des Papayes, Plaine Magnan, Rosil, and Rodrigues. Together, all these editions have brought more than 1,750 citizens into direct contact with the institutions that exist to support them. Mr. Deputy Speaker, with regard to part B of the question, I wish to inform the House that the main impediments, among others, to the growth of SMEs are as follows: limited access to affordable finance, labor shortages, high cost of doing business, competition from imports, regulatory and administrative burden, limited innovation, limited access to export markets, and supply chain vulnerabilities. Having said that, these impediments are well known. What matters is a response. I wish to assure the House that these are being addressed in large part through measures announced in the budget 2026 and 27. On the regulatory and administrative burden, I will introduce a new SME bill to make the business environment friendlier for small enterprises, which will be accompanied by a new business facilitation bill, which will cut through the procedures and bottlenecks that hold small operators back. Turning to finance, SME Mauritius Limited will build a single digital platform, bringing together in one place all the support that government has to offer, namely schemes, grants, tax incentive, and finance. Government-backed credit guarantee schemes are being re-engineered, and we are working with financial institutions to widen access to funding for technology adoption, business expansion, and sustainable investment. For digital transformation and innovation, an eligible startup will enjoy a 10-year income tax holiday from its very first day of operation and will comprise a dedicated Startup Act and a Startup Council and an accelerator scheme together with stronger support for innovation. We are also broadening the exemption from custom duty on eligible utility vehicles so that registered SME in transformative sectors qualify, helping them cut costs, move goods and equipment, and invest in capacity. Addressing these priorities will improve SMEs' competitiveness and resilience and strengthen their contribution to the economic growth and employment. Mr. Deputy Speaker, some measures have already been adopted, such as startups and MSMEs are now able to claim a tax deduction on their investment in AI technologies, up to the amount of 150,000 rupees. Women have been empowered to start their own businesses, and thus all DBM loans under the Women Entrepreneur Loan Scheme now carries a grace period of 18 months for repayment instead of 12 months. Additionally, the maximum credit limit on these loans has been raised from 500,000 to 1.2 million rupees. Thank you.
The Honourable First Member for Wako-Florel.
B1114, s'il vous plaît.
Monsieur le Vice-président, en ce qui concerne la partie A de la question, je dépose les données demandées. Ce sont des données fournies par la météo relatives aux pluies enregistrées au cours des 10 dernières années par région. Monsieur le Vice-président, en ce qui concerne la partie B1 de la question, je dépose le Climate Resilient Infrastructure Development Facility report et financé par le Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. En ce qui concerne la partie B2 de la question, l'étude de l'AFD est actuellement en cours et le rapport final devrait être soumis d'ici novembre 2026.
The Honourable Second Member for Wadi.
Thank you very much. B-stroke 1115.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm informed by the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited that MV Mauritius Trocasia was built and commissioned in 2001 and is now 25 years old, as young as Johnny Walker walking with others. As regards part B of the question, it is to be noted that the vessel is approaching the end of its economic service life, and its replacement is a matter of national priority and strategic importance for Mauritius. However, the expected decommissioning and replacement of MV Mauritius Trocasia are dependent on the procurement of a new vessel. In light thereof, I cannot give a definite timeline for the decommissioning of MV Mauritius Trocasia, but concerning Part C of the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited is working on a procurement plan for the acquisition and construction of a modern multi-purpose passenger cargo vessel specifically designed to service Mauritius, Rodrigue, Agariga for the next 25 years. The estimated cost of acquiring such a vessel is 1.5 billion rupees, and the delivery is expected by April 2029. In that respect, on the 10th June 2026, discussions have been held by the Ministry with the High Commission of India, whereby a list of 6 shipyards in India were provided to the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited. An expression of interest for the design and construction of a modern multipurpose passenger cum cargo vessel was launched to these shipyards. So far, 4 shipyards have responded and expressed their interest in the project, namely 1, Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers Limited, 2, Synergy Shipbuilders, 3, Hindustan Shipyard Limited, and 4, Yemen Marine Services Private Company Limited. Now, the Mauritius Shipping Corporation Limited will start discussion with these shipyards by the end of July this year. However, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Ministry is also exploring financing options for the acquisition of a new vessel available under the UK Export Finance Programme. On the 18th of May 2026, the Mauritius High Commission in London was requested to seek details pertaining to the financing option, eligibility criteria, indicative terms and conditions, financing structures and instruments, and other associated requirements applicable to such a project. A reply is awaited. Similarly, on the 14th July 2026, the Ministry has also submitted a project for the design and construction of a new passenger cum cargo vessel to replace MV Mauritius Tokesia for consideration by the EU and the EU Global Green Bond Initiative and Sustainable Finance Advisory Hub. Thank you.
B1116 will go as a written reply. So we go to the Honourable Third Member for Parlement.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. B1117.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for this continued interest in the revival of the sustainable development of football in Mauritius. When I took office, Mauritian football was in deep crisis. This situation has been mainly due to the lack of political vision under the MSM-led government regime. Instead of hastening football's unifying power, the regime allowed poor governance and quick political fixes to undermine the sport. This lack of political vision included, among others, failure to build structured training centers, a scouting system, or coaching program, as well as poor maintenance, lack of planning, and absence of community facilities meant that infrastructure failed to serve as a sustainable backbone for football. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I outlined in my reply to Parliament question B999 and B1021 of November 25, the government's strategy for the revival of development of football in Mauritius is comprehensive, forward-looking, and built on a clear vision to make football in our country inclusive, exciting, and competitive at both regional and international level. Our approach in this endeavor rests on 5 pillars: youth development, capacity building, improve infrastructure, enhance governance, and a stronger partnership with the Mauritius Football Association. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the project Relance du Football jointly is spearheaded by my ministry and the Federation, is the engine driving this vision. Since 2025, we have moved from planning to action, and a number of key measures have been implemented. Mr. Deputy Speaker, my ministry is currently rolling out additional projects under a structured 5-year football development framework. As regards Part A of the question, several projects have been identified. These projects include grassroots and youth development, strengthening the network for the development of youth sport through 41 écoles de foot, which comprises the following: grassroots under 9 and under 11 categories, écoles de foot under 13 and under 15 categories, 12 regional technical centers across the island, the FIFA Grassroots Football 2026, which started in May 2026 with 230 primary schools participating, and the final was held on Wednesday, 15 July 2026. The setting up of the Centre for Excellence in Football in October 2025 with 75 young football players across 3 boys age category under 15, under 17 and under 18. Coach, a new national technical director has been appointed. The Mauritius Football Association is now delivering CAF license C and D, which with a view to raising technical standard. 150 participants have already graduated. CAF license B course will be held during the period of August to December 26 and will target 30 participants. With the collaboration of the Mauritius Football Association, my ministry is expanding participation of girls in football and developing regional structures to support them. Women competition are being strengthened and talent pathways are being established to ensure our female players have equal opportunities to develop and complete their. And we have also upgrading the.
If you have long to go, you can file the reply, because
this I'm not going to be too long.
Yeah, because
it's very important so that the population
each and
may
every
know what
question
we are
is
doing.
important. Each and every question is important, and each answer is important. But if you are long, please file it. If your answer is too long, you have taken already 5 minutes.
If you say that, I'm going to table it.
Table it. You have supplementary question?
Like I said, this is something that is very important for the
Yes,
population
it is
to
important.
know.
The
Okay.
member will also.
Could the Honourable Minister please provide information about how much of the sports budget would be dedicated to revival of the sports? And if that budget includes providing financial incentive to local Super League teams?
That answer is lengthy. Like you say, I go what you're ruling. I'm going to table it.
Table it. Very good. Any more question? No. The Honourable First Member for Pitong du rapport.
Merci. B. 1118.
Mr. Speaker, sir, at the very outset, I wish to point out that buggies and quad bikes are designed and manufactured for off-road use. While no person is authorized to operate a quad bike on public roads in Mauritius, I am given to understand that the NLTA was until February 2019 registering buggies for use on our public roads. I am informed that buggies were allowed contrary to quad bikes, as they have similar features as motor cars in terms of steering and other automotive controls, seating arrangements and safety requirements. Their comparatively low center of gravity makes these vehicles more stable and less risky to tipping over. As the NLTA has ceased to register buggies, These vehicles are now not being imported. As per records from the NLTA, about 121 buggies have been registered. That is why buggies may still be seen to be operating here and there. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed by the police that quad bikes are not authorized to run on public roads as they are not registered. Any person contravening this prohibition may be prosecuted for the offence of using an unregistered motor vehicle in breach of Section 51A of the Road Traffic Act, which provides that no person shall use an on-road or otherwise a motor vehicle or trailer unless the vehicle or trailer is registered in accordance with this Act. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part A of the question, I am informed by the TRMSU of my ministry that no survey for feasibility study has been conducted on the use of buggies or quad bikes on public roads. As regards quad bikes, from a safety perspective, the design characteristics include a high center of gravity, therefore more narrow track width, the absence of occupant protection systems, locked rear axle system, and their particular handling characteristics render quad bikes unsuitable for use alongside conventional motor vehicles on public roads. Deputy Speaker, sir, due to these fundamental design conflicts between off-road performance and on-road safety, regulatory bodies in most jurisdictions restrict quad bike use for off-road use only. As such, they may be allowed to run in off-road environments and on private properties intended for recreational, agricultural, or commercial purposes. The House will recall that the use of unregistered quad bikes led to a fatal accident in Berkeley in the recent past. These vehicles have also been seen on public roads in some regions of Port Louis and elsewhere. Following my request last year, the NLT had issued a reminder in a communiqué dated 3rd December 2025 last year to draw the attention of the public on the unlawful use of quad bikes on public roads and the penalties applicable for such offences. Unfortunately, some persons are still persistently using quad bikes illegally, as evidenced recently where such a vehicle was used on a public health truck, which became a cause of public unrest. For reasons I have mentioned, my ministry does not find any need to regulate to allow the use of quad bikes in any designated region or any road. Deputy Speaker, sir, to end, as for buggies, the underlying reasons for which the registration of these vehicles was stopped by the NLTA in 2019 are unclear. These vehicles offer all the comfort and safety that any conventional car provides and also have similar automotive control system. Their use in Mauritius has not given rise to any known unfortunate accident. These vehicles are allowed for private commuting needs in other countries and may be interesting from a touristic perspective. Taking these factors into consideration, my ministry will request the NLTA to consider the availability to reintroduce the registration and licensing of buggies for use on public roads after giving due consideration to all required safety requirements as laid down in the Road Traffic, Construction and Use of Vehicles Regulation 2010. Thank you.
The Honourable Third Member for Rivière-Giswiak.
Président B1119, s'il vous plaît.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I thank the Honourable Member for interest in the SENS sector. I wish to reaffirm my Ministry's commitment to ensuring equitable access to quality and inclusive education for all learners, with a special attention for those with the special education needs. In this regard, my Ministry continues to expand specialized educational facilities and support services to all children who require special education needs. I wish to inform the House that my Ministry takes into account the following while planning for the specialized services in the SENS sector. 1, the demand for placements. 2, the educational needs of learners. And 3, the availability of financial resources with a view to ensuring that every child receives appropriate educational support in a conducive learning environment. As regards to Part A of the question, there are presently 12 special education needs integrated units operating in 11 government primary schools to cater for learners with special education needs. One school, namely D, Early Government School, Woodlands, operates 2 SEN integrated units. I am tabling the list of these schools together with their respective locations. In addition, my ministry operates 7 SEN Resource Development Centers. I'm also tabling the list of these centers together with their respective locations. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to part B of the question, I wish to inform the House that for the financial year 2026-2027, 4 additional SEN integrated units are scheduled to be established at Néoné-Morin Government School, Trobiche, Beauséjour Government School, Belrose, Barlow Government School at Barlow, 15 Canton Government School, Vacqua. Furthermore, a new SEN Resource Development Center will be established at Montagne-Haury. The above locations have been identified following an assessment of requests for admission, the demand for specialized educational services, the needs of learners according to the nature and severity of their disabilities, and the objective of improving equitable geographical access to special education needs services. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Can the Honourable Minister state how many children with special education needs are expected to benefit from the additional units and centres?
I can tell you, Honourable Member, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for the time being, we have around 3,000 children who are concerned by the SEN sector, and definitely the figures will differ depending upon the level, the severity of their disability, and the region where they will be located.
Yes.
Can the Honourable Minister also confirm whether consideration is being given to establish a SEN unit in each educational zone to ensure equitable access to all students?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, there is a lot of coherence in whatever the Honourable Member is saying. Definitely, we want to bring the centre closer to these children because we don't want them, given their physical or mental situation, bring these institutions closer to them. And that is why officers of my ministry, they always take that into consideration while earmarking a centre for these SEN students. Thank you.
The Honourable Third Member for Vieux-Grand-Port as well.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. PQB 1120, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed by the District Council of Grand-Port that the holding of night markets in localities falling under its jurisdiction during the current year is under consideration. Before any night market is approved, the District Council will determine the appropriate location, the period and operating modalities, the estimated financial implications, traffic and public safety arrangement, waste collection and sanitation measures, the provision of facilities such as lighting, tents, public toilets, and the level of interest from prospective traders, so as to ensure that the event is operationally feasible and can be conducted in a safe and orderly manner. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, for the benefit of the House, I wish to point out that during the last festive season, a day market was successfully organized at the Maïbe waterfront. However, no night market was held, as no application was received from prospective traders to operate during the night hours. Accordingly, any proposal for the holding of night markets during the current year will be considered by the District Council in the light of operational feasibility, public safety, financial sustainability, and the level of participation from traders before a final decision is being taken. Thank you.
The Honourable Second Member for Belrose-Cadbourne.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président B1121.
Thank you. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I presume that the Honourable Member is referring to the new social housing projects and not to ongoing ones being undertaken by both the NHDC and the NSLT. On this understanding, I wish to inform the House that the budget estimates 2026-2027 provide for the implementation of 3 new social housing projects by the NHDC, comprising a total of 227 housing units. As regards parts A and B, I'm informed that the NHDC proposes to construct 38 housing units at Bejutombo, obviously in constituency number 3, not 5.
Okay.
89 units at La Source, Catroborn, and I can assure the honourable member that it is not a coincidence that she is the one putting the question, or that my good friend, Minister, or yourself, looking at me. Your eyes have had no effect on my answer, I can assure. And 100 units at Plainbois in constituency number 12 is not yet, so it should be happening. In regards to Part C, the project is expected to start in September 2026 at Bejutombo, in March 2027 at La Source, and April 2027 at Plainbois, with completion scheduled in June 2028 for Bejutombo, 2029 March for La Source, and July 2029 for Plainbois. I must add here that my ministry has been given slightly more than 2 billion rupees in order to complete the NSLD projects that are already underway. And last year, we also spent, the last financial year, more than almost 3 billion rupees precisely to complete those projects. So this is what we have at the moment, as far as we have in pocket at the moment. So in actual fact, for more houses, I'm out of pocket. Thank you.
Just one last question, time is over already.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. Would the Honourable Minister explain the reason for any delays in the delivery of previous announced social housing project, for example, at La Palma, and what measures are being taken to avoid similar delays in future? Thank you.
Well, the delays, unfortunately, are, for example, if I'm to talk about La Source Puspas, for constituency number 18, there were 100 units there, and the delivering of the housing units depend on CWA water tank and booster pumps. The Honourable Minister responsible for those institutions is well aware. Then La Source, Lot 1 to Lot 6 and Lot 9, 300 units. That also depends on lifting station and CWA water tank and booster pumps. So somewhere, someplace, I'm in good hands, since I know that it is my good friend, the Honourable Minister for Public Utilities, who is responsible there. So I know that those matters will be attended to, and I'm sure that we'll be able to give satisfaction to honourable members of number 18. But it is not, and I'm happy to say that, it is not dependent on the NSLD right now. We have to move forward. However, there has been some issues pertaining to contractors as well that is independent of our doing, but we are following very closely.
Thank you. Time is over. The table has been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn. B 1142, 1143, 1136, 1133, 1122, 1124, 1128, 1130, 1139, 1127, 1131, 1126, 1137, 1134, 1138, 1123, and 1125.
Motion.
Yes,
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I move that all business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Seconded. The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Statement by Ministers, none. Public bills, second reading.
The Honourable First Member for Holding.
Monsieur le vice-président, honorables collègues, ce projet de loi à l'ordre du jour, le Mauritius Hydrographic Services Bill 2026, présenté par l'honorable ministre des Terres, est un texte qui engage notre République dans une étape décisive. Pour beaucoup de nos concitoyens, le mot hydrographie peut sembler technique. En réalité, il s'agit de dresser des cartes précises de ce qui se trouve sous nos vagues, les profondeurs, les reliefs, les récifs et les bancs de sable, de la géographie maritime. Ces cartes sont indispensables pour naviguer en sécurité, protéger nos ressources marines et bâtir des infrastructures solides. Voyez-vous, Monsieur le Vice-président, pendant des années, notre République a dû compter sur des services d'hydrographie et de cartographie fournis par des partenaires étrangers. Nous leur sommes reconnaissants pour cette collaboration, comme l'ont rappelé l'honorable ministre des Terres, ainsi que mon collègue député, l'honorable François, lors de la dernière séance. Mais aujourd'hui, Monsieur le Vice-président, notre République franchit une nouvelle étape. Elle affirme désormais notre maîtrise nationale dans ce domaine. Avant toute autre chose, Monsieur le Vice-président, une différence importante est à noter. Dans certains pays comme le Royaume-Uni, l'exploration de l'océan est considérée comme une activité commerciale. Des entreprises privées cartographient la mer pour installer des éoliennes, par exemple, et les données sont ensuite partagées librement. Mais notre République, elle, a choisi une autre voie, adaptée à notre réalité d'État océanique stratégique. Concrètement, cela signifie trois principes simples. Les informations maritimes appartiennent désormais à notre République, avec un modèle étatique et centralisé. C'est l'État mauricien qui détiendra et contrôlera les données maritimes. Toute entreprise ou navire étranger devra obtenir une autorisation avant de collecter des informations sur nos eaux ou même pêcher dans nos eaux. Une autorisation est obligatoire et aucun navire ou entreprise étrangère ne peut collecter d'informations sans l'accord de l'État mauricien. Des sanctions claires sont prévues en cas de violation et toute violation de ces règles entraînera des conséquences graves. C'est ce que prévoit ce projet de loi. Ainsi, contrairement au modèle commercial adopté ailleurs, notre République choisit de protéger nos ressources et notre souveraineté, en plaçant la sécurité et l'intérêt de nos citoyens au-dessus des logiques du marché. Chacun comprendra que notre République reprend le contrôle de notre espace maritime. Permettez-moi, Monsieur le Vice-président, de poser une question simple mais essentielle. Savez-vous, Monsieur le Vice-président, vraiment où sont nos poissons, nos ourites et autres fruits de mer? Et quelles sont les routes maritimes sûres pour que nos pêcheurs de Rodrigue aillent pêcher tout cela? Non, moi non plus, du moins pas pour le moment. Répondre à cette question, c'est donner à nos pêcheurs et à nos entreprises les moyens de travailler en sécurité et à notre République les moyens de gérer durablement nos ressources. Ce projet de loi a des effets concrets pour nos pêcheurs artisans comme pour l'industrie professionnelle de la pêche qui se développe. Cette question est vitale. Elle détermine la sécurité en mer, la capacité à rentrer malgré les tempêtes, esquiver le danger en naviguant et ainsi la survie économique de toute une filière. Pour nos infrastructures, Monsieur le Vice-président, l'hydrographie est indispensable pour construire et moderniser nos ports. Un port n'est pas seulement un quai, c'est une porte ouverte sur le commerce, le tourisme et la sécurité maritime. Pour bâtir un port sûr, il faut connaître le relief sous-marin, identifier les zones profondes pour accueillir les grands navires et repérer les récifs ou bancs de sable qui peuvent mettre en danger la navigation. Grâce à des données fiables, centralisées et accessibles, nous pourrons développer des ports modernes dans nos îles de la République comme défini dans notre loi suprême qui est la Constitution. Des ports capables de soutenir notre économie bleue, d'attirer des investissements et bien sûr de protéger nos îles contre la montée des eaux. Ce texte, Monsieur le Vice-président, est aussi essentiel pour l'avenir numérique de notre République. Vous vous demandez sûrement comment. Les câbles optiques sous-marins qui relient nos îles au reste du monde passent par nos fonds marins. D'ailleurs, j'interpelle le gouvernement sur la nécessité cruciale de considérer un second câble sous-marin de fibre optique pour Rodrigue, afin d'assurer une redondance numérique totale, avoir un réseau Internet fiable et garantir que notre île ne soit jamais isolée du reste du monde en cas de rupture ou de panne de la câble principale existante. Bien sûr, éviter de répéter l'épisode de la rupture du câble SAFE à Maurice. Une hydrographie précise garantit l'installation de ces câbles optiques sous-marins et bien sûr leur maintenance en toute sécurité, contrôlée par notre République. Cela signifie une meilleure connectivité pour tous nos citoyens, une compétitivité accrue pour nos entreprises et une place renforcée pour nos îles dans l'économie mondiale, Monsieur le Vice-président. C'est pourquoi, dans un souci de consolider l'autonomie de Rodrigue au sein de la République et de soutenir à la fois la pêche artisanale et l'industrie professionnelle, il est indispensable d'installer une antenne de la Mauritius Hydrographic Services, MHS, sur l'île Rodrigue. Rodrigue est déjà responsable de plusieurs services marins, notamment à travers la SEMPA et la gestion des aires marines protégées. Il est donc naturel que l'Assemblée régionale participe pleinement aux décisions concernant les eaux qui entourent Rodrigue. Car la gestion de ces zones maritimes ne peut se faire sans la collaboration directe des autorités régionales qui ont déjà une expérience et une responsabilité reconnue. Je soutiens donc pleinement la demande de mon leader et collègue, l'honorable François. D'ailleurs, j'en profite pour saluer cet homme, lui-même surveyor technicien, dont l'expérience inspire notre République. Son parcours montre que les Rodriguais peuvent être pionniers de cette souveraineté maritime. J'appelle nos jeunes à emboîter le pas. Nous devrons aussi, bien sûr, encourager la formation des hydrographes et cartographes. Si nous encadrons ces professions par la loi, nous devons garantir qu'elles soient accessibles aux jeunes de Rodrigue. Une antenne de la MHS ne doit pas seulement collecter des données, elle doit être un centre de formation et d'opportunités pour les professionnels de mon île. Pour conclure, Monsieur le Vice-président, ce projet de loi est un texte de dignité. Il s'agit de revendiquer ce qui appartient à la République, des lagons de Maïbo jusqu'aux eaux profondes des îles de notre République, incluant Galiga, Rodrigue et les Chagos. En votant ce texte, nous ici, nous assurons que notre République protège son environnement, sécurise ses frontières et prépare un avenir durable pour les générations futures. Je me prononce donc en faveur de ce projet de loi, Monsieur le Vice-président. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Honorable Boulel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I have listened very intently to the speech delivered by the Honourable Lady, and she has said what needed to be said, and I will follow, as we say, suit and highlight the merits of the bill. Now, if we want Mauritius to be a big ocean state, we cannot simply say it in a vacuum. And to be a big ocean state, we have to make sure that we should know, that we have to make sure where we are going, and if we have to cruise, whether we're flying on the right direction. So let me, right from the outset, congratulate the Honourable Minister of Housing and Lands for introducing this important piece of legislation. Timely, strategic, and essential because hydrography is, above all, about safety of maritime navigation. For an island like Mauritius, maritime transport is not merely another mode of transport, it is the backbone of our economy. More than 99% of our imports and exports move by sea. The safety, efficiency, and reliability of our maritime transport system therefore depend on accurate hydrographic surveys and up-to-date nautical information. Since independence, Mauritius has benefited immensely from the support of friendly nations. Japan, through JICA, then of course India, in developing our hydrographic capabilities. The Memorandum of Understanding on Hydrography, first signed in 2005, has been the cornerstone of this cooperation. And through this partnership, India has assisted Mauritius in conducting hydrographic surveys, producing navigational charts, training our officers, transferring technical expertise, and establishing hydrographic infrastructure. Now, like all our friends, I wish to place on record our profound gratitude to the government and the people of India for this unwavering and unconditional support. This partnership has significantly strengthened our maritime capabilities. However, while we value long-standing cooperation, we must also use it as a springboard to build our own national expertise. International partnership should empower Mauritius to become increasingly self-reliant in hydrographic surveying, maritime cartography, and nautical chart production. This is the hallmark of sustainable nation building. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, Mauritius is a contracting state to the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, whose provisions are incorporated into our Merchant Shipping Act of 2007. Under Chapter 5, Regulation 9 of SOLAS Convention, every coastal state has a legal obligation to provide hydrographic and nautical services. These obligations include conducting hydrographic surveys, producing and maintaining updated nautical charts and publication, issuing notices to mariners, and ensuring that all such information complies with the standard of international hydrographic organization. This is, therefore, not simply good governance, it is an international responsibility. The Republic of Mauritius, Mr. Deputy Speaker, administers one of the largest maritime zones in Africa. It ranks 20th among the world's largest coastal states in terms of maritime jurisdiction. Such an extensive exclusive economic zone carries immense opportunities, but also equally significant responsibilities. As the saying goes, we must know our territorial waters. But beyond knowing our boundaries, we must fully understand the resources that lie within our exclusive economic zone. This requires comprehensive hydrographic survey, modern tracking infrastructure, and continuous scientific monitoring. In this regard, the completion of hydrographic survey throughout our entire EZ, including Diego Garcia, remains of strategic importance. Our ambition is clear. Mauritius must position itself as a leading maritime hub in the Indian Ocean, serving a preferred destination for transshipment, bunkering, refueling, and maritime services for vessels navigating major international shipping routes between Africa, Asia, Australia, and South America. An opportunity to be the star and key not only of the Indian Ocean, but of the world. Now, achieving this vision requires more than modern port infrastructure. It requires precise hydrographic knowledge of the waters, reliable navigational information, and continuously updated nautical charts. Safe sea routes are the foundation upon which maritime commerce is built. Hydrography enables the government broader's vision of expanding our port infrastructure, developing a container port terminal, constructing dedicated fishing port, establishing a fish auction market, and strengthening the blue economy. Mr. Deputy Speaker, hydrography is more, as I've stated, than navigation. It is a strategic national asset. It supports fisheries and aquaculture by identifying navigable passes, suitable aquaculture sites, and the optimal placement of fish aggregating devices. It contributes to marine conservation, to delineation and management of marine protected areas. It supports port development, offshore renewable energy, marine biotechnology, sea-based resource exploration, tourism, and coastal infrastructure. It plays a critical role in disaster risk reduction and climate resilience. Accurate hydrographic data enable us to monitor sea level rise, coastal erosion, and changing ocean conditions. These data sets allow policymakers to model flooding risk, protect coastal communities, and preserve fragile marine ecosystem. For Mauritius, where tourism and fisheries remain pillars of economy, the ability to anticipate and respond to coastal change is no longer optional, it is indispensable. Hydrographic information also underpins marine spatial planning by providing geographic information system necessary for evidence-based decision on marine zoning, conservation, and sustainable ocean use. Updated nautical chart, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, remain one of the most essential tools for maritime safety. They are equally the foundation for scientific research, offshore development, renewable energy project, deep ocean water application, fisheries, aquaculture, and the responsible exploration of marine resources. For these reasons, the establishment of a full-fledged Mauritius Hydrographic Services vested with clear statutory authority is both timely and necessary. It will strengthen national coordination of hydrographic surveys, ensure the continuous updating of nautical charts, and reinforce the government's vision for a sustainable blue economy. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, two proposals have been made by those who are keen to further strengthen it. I've been told to convey it loud and clear to all of us. First, the qualification and professional competency of hydrographic surveys and marine cartographers are fundamentally different from those of land surveyors and conventional cartographers. The new Mauritius Hydrographic Services should therefore have its own dedicated professional structure comprising specialized grade to support the chief hydrographer. In addition, regulations should be made under the Act to regulate these professions and ensure that hydrographic surveys and nautical chart production continue to supply with international hydrographic organization standards. The second message that was conveyed to me and been asked to be the hunter, which hopefully will not be hunted, is on the continuity of leadership. Continuity of leadership is essential. The officer currently heading the hydrographic unit is serving on deputation from the Indian Navy under existing bilateral arrangement. While we deeply value and appreciate this invaluable contribution, the long-term administration of the Mauritius Hydrographic Services should eventually rest with a permanent public officer. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Bhagwan.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, by now, everybody knows, Mauritius, as rightly pointed out by my friends, Mauritius has one of the world's largest exclusive economic zones, covering about 2.2 million square kilometers of the Indian Ocean, with an additional 396,000 square kilometers continental shelf co-managed with Seychelles. These waters hold immense ecological, economic and strategic values. They host coral reef, ecosystems, deep sea habitats, and unique species with potential for pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, and biofuels. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is what we have learned as new technologies and equipment have transformed our understanding of the ocean. It is only over the course of the last century that such detailed information has become available to us. Before the age of sonar and GPS, sailors looked to the stars above and to the natural world around them and the silent guidance of birds, whales, and the natural world around them. It was through these observations that so many explorers were able to chart and discover the world as we know it today. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the ocean today is one of the most heavily used space on the planet. At any given moment, thousands of vessels are crossing our oceans, carrying goods and merchandise to every corner of the globe. Indeed, the ocean today is as busy as any port and any airport. And as at any given time, we can know precisely how many tankers and vessels are at sea and where they are. And as resources on land become scarcer and international competition for these dwindling resources intensifies, human activity is extending into every space we can reach, whether it is in the atmosphere above us or in the sea, deep sea beneath us. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is the purpose of this very important Mauritius Hydrographic Services Bill, presented by my colleague, Honorable Sakil Mohammed, Minister of Housing and Lands, whom I thank as well and his team for bringing this very important legislation to the House today. This bill provides for the production of standardized nautical charts, regulates hydrographic surveys, and safeguards the integrity of our national hydrographic data. It is a decisive step in strengthening our nation's maritime governance, safeguarding our marine environment, and ensuring the sustainable use of our lagoon and ocean resources. As defined in the bill, hydrographic survey means the measurement and description of physical features of oceans, seas, lagoons, coastal areas, rivers, and inland water bodies, and includes any product derived from hydrographic data other than a nautical chart. It involves mapping water depth, sea floor shapes, tides, currents, and hazards, trade activities or seaboard. Navigational charts are vital tools for safe and efficient maritime operations. They combine hydrographic data, geographic information, and navigational aids to guide vessels across oceans, coastal waters, and harbors. So, Deputy Speaker, as a small island nation, Mauritius faces growing risks from sea level rise, coastal erosion, cyclones, storm surges, flooding, and ecosystem degradation. Risks made more pressing by our limited land area, our long coastline, and the concentration of population and infrastructure along our coast. The facts are clear. More than 37 kilometers, 17.6% of our coastline, have already been affected by erosion. Some beaches have shrunk up by 20 meters in recent decades. Government has identified 33 priority sites, eroded sites, covering 31 kilometers for rehabilitation by 2035. Our NDC 3.0, prepared with full stakeholder collaboration, sets out both mitigation targets and adaptation commitments, and will soon be supported by an investment plan to decarbonize the economy and build resilience in vulnerable sectors. My ministry is also leading the preparation of a national adaptation plan to identify and prioritize adaptation actions across climate-sensitive sectors. This is where the Hydrographic Services Bill becomes essential. By establishing a regulated framework to map our waters and manage critical baseline data, sea levels, coastal topography, seabed bathymetry. This legislation provides the foundational data required for coastal management, for tracking sea level rise, and for responding to slow onset disasters and the loss and damage frameworks. This piece of legislation, Mr. Deputy Speaker, therefore constitutes a cornerstone for integrated lagoon and maritime zone management. It would complement the upcoming National Shoreline Management Strategy, reinforce marine conservation objectives, and enhance institutional capacity to anticipate and respond effectively to environmental hazards. The provision and use of verified hydrographic data are central to advancing the blue economy. As such, data ensures safe navigation, underpins the siting of offshore wind farms, and secures subsea cable routes. Beyond economic applications, hydrographic and bathymetric information is indispensable for coastal flood risk modeling and the design of coastal adaptation measures. For my ministry, accurate bathymetry data are critical elements for assessing erosion and accretion processes. It enables the design of effective and evidence-based interventions, reduces the risk of costly engineering errors, and strengthens resilience against shoreline erosion. By embedding hydrographic data into planning and operational frameworks, this legislation ensures that coastal protection measures are significant, scientifically robust, economically efficient, and aligned with long-term sustainability goals. In this way, the Act not only safeguards national infrastructure and communities, but also consolidates Mauritius' leadership in integrated marine governance and climate resistance. As the House is aware, my ministry undertakes annual beach rehabilitation works across the island, targeting critical sites that are most vulnerable to coastal erosion. These interventions form a central component of our national coastal protection program, ensuring the long-term resilience of our shorelines and safeguarding communities, infrastructure, and ecosystems. In this regard, the availability of accurate and verified bathymetry data is indispensable. I wish to inform the House that on several occasions, the Mauritius Hydrography Services has provided my ministry with hydrographic data sets, particularly in the form of detailed bathymetric surveys. These data sets have been instrumental in guiding the design of coastal protection works at multiple sites around the island. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this bill will also, as rightly pointed out by my good friend, Honourable François, support our blue carbon inventory work, mapping seagrass and mangroves across our EEZ by 2035, and strengthening provisions for maritime security and the sustainable management of our marine ecosystem. Finally, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this matters for financing too. Climate funds, including the Fund for Loss and Damage, require strong scientific rationale to approve funding requests. The data this bill will generate is precisely the evidence-based Mauritius needs to assess that finance. Hydrographic data is also critical for oil spill response. Data on currents, tides, seabed topography, and coastal features determine now how spill oil spreads and essential for predicting spill trajectories, guiding emergency response, and minimizing ecological damage. The House will also recall that Saint-Barthélemy had witnessed the grounding of 3 fishing vessels on its reef during the last 10 years, namely fishing vessel Kayan in 2015, Seamaster in 2021, and Newfoundland number 57 in 2023. Fortunately, no spill had been reported in these 3 cases, as it would have been a serious environmental disaster to Saint-Barthélemy's pristine marine ecosystem, including its coastal reef and the green turtle nesting beaches. Mr. Deputy Speaker, my ministry has also, under the technical assistance program of the Japan International Cooperation Agency, enhancement of institutional capacity for oil spill response for the Republic of Mauritius 2022-2025, developed a tactical sheet folios for 3 high-risk sites on the eastern coast of Mauritius and the port area, which are prone to oil spills. These tactical sheet folios provide data on bathymetry, wave regime, tidal regime, current strength and direction, and sensitive coastal features, all essential for oil spill response should an accident occur in these areas. However, same needs to be developed for other areas around Mauritius, Agariga, Rodrigue, Saint-Barthélemy Island, and the Chagos Archipelagos. The Chagos Archipelago consists of 7 coral reef atolls and over 60 small islands, including Diego Garcia, Perros Banos, and Salomon. The archipelago features low-lying coral atolls, lagoons, and submerged reefs, including Great Chagos Bank, the world's largest coral atoll. The Chagos Archipelago contains some of the world's most pristine tropical marine ecosystems, harboring nearly 300 coral species, 800 fish varieties, massive seabird colonies. The shallow water coral reefs account for 1.5% of the global total and covers an area of 66,000 square kilometers. The marine ecosystem of Chagos are threatened by climate change with rising sea levels and water warming. Therefore, hydrographic data is critical for Chagos Archipelago for safe nautical navigation, marine spatial planning, climate change, and coastal resilience. Mr. Deputy Speaker, hydrography also underpins flood risk management. In April 2019, my ministry commissioned a study on the audit of rivers and water courses causing recurrent flooding, hydrological and hydraulic modeling using GIS applications and meteorological data allowed flood mapping for various return periods. This modeling guides remedial measures to mitigate flooding of identified rivers and water courses. By embedding these safeguards, Mauritius will not only comply with international conventions, such as the United Nations on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, and International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS, but also assert its leadership in regional maritime governance. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Government of Mauritius has a long-standing agreement with the Government of India in the field of hydrography. A memorandum of understanding between Mauritius and India in hydrography was originally signed in on October 24, 2005. It was subsequently renewed during the Prime Minister's state visit to India in September 2025. The agreement facilitates deep sea surveys, the production of navigational charts, staff training, and the development of local hydrography infrastructure by the Indian Naval Hydrography Department. In the last 20 years, more than a dozen joint missions have been conducted, resulting in the successful completion of nearly 30 hydrographic surveys and the production of multiple navigational charts and electronic navigational chart cells. I understand that these missions were carried out by different Indian Navy ships, namely INS Sarveshak, INS Darshak, INS Sutlej, and inshore vessel, survey vessel Pathfinder. The last mission was carried out in October 2025 by the Indian Navy ship INS Sutlej, which completed a major joint survey mission with the Mauritius Hydrographic Service covering 35,000 square nautical miles. I will I would wish to place on record our deep appreciation to the Government of India for this enduring cooperation, which has strengthened Mauritius' capacity to safeguard its vast exclusive economic zone and enhance maritime service. I also extend my gratitude to the Mauritius Hydrographic Services for their steadfast support in furnishing my ministry with verified hydrographic and bathymetric data. Their contributions have been invaluable in enabling the effective design and implementation of coastal protection works across the island, guiding flood risk modelling and supporting oil spill preparedness. Together, these efforts have fortified our collective capacity to safeguard vulnerable shorelines, protect marine ecosystems, and promote sustainable resilience in the face of climate change and environmental hazards. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in conclusion, the Mauritius Hydrographic Services Bill, long overdue, for an ocean state such as Mauritius, whose maritime zone extends far beyond its landmass, is more than a technical instrument. It is a declaration of our commitment to good governance, sustainability, and national resilience. By embedding these safeguards, Mauritius will comply with all international conventions while asserting its leadership in regional maritime governance. I would like again to thank my colleagues for bringing this legislation to the Assembly. Thank you.
Honourable Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I now rise to reply to all the observations and comments that were made during this debate. But before I am to go there, I'd like to state that it has been brought to my knowledge that by inadvertence, some clauses of the bill to which I referred at the second reading do not tally with the clauses as provided in the bill and that has been submitted to Assembly. And I will briefly go through them in order to clarify the situation. So the data sovereignty law is provided under Clause 8.2 of the bill instead of Clause 12. The compliance with SOLAS, UNCLOS, and the standard of IHO, IALA, and IMO are mentioned at Clause 15.2c of the bill instead of Clause 5. The creation of the Office of the Chief Hydrographer is provided under Clause 5 instead of Clause 6. Under Clause 3a of the bill instead of Clause 9, the NHS shall be the national custodian for all bathymetry collected for route surveys. Any hydrographic surveys undertaken by a private person would require necessary authorization under Clause 7.2 of the bill instead of Clause 8. The functions, the collection of hydrographic data, the production, publication, and updating of nautical charts, the maintenance of uniformity with IHO standards, the assurance that surveys meet established benchmarks, and the representation of Mauritius's international hydrographic fora are all provided under Clause 4 of the bill instead of Clause 9. Administration of the service, MHS, is specified under Clause 5 and 6 of the bill instead of Clause 6 and 7. The Office of the Chief Hydrographer is established under Clause 5 of the bill instead of Clause 6. Staff to service and assist the Mauritius Hydrographic Service is provided under Clause 6 of the bill instead of Clause 7. And lastly, the operative heart of the bill is provided under Clause 7 instead of Clause 8 to Clause 13. Authorization for any person other than the officer of the MHS is required under Clause 7 of the bill instead of Clause 8. The conditions, specifically IHO Special Publications S44, to conduct such surveys may be defined under Clause 7.4 of the bill instead of Clause 9. Clause 9 of the bill instead of Clause 10 reserves the issuance of official charts to the MHS, and Clause 10 of the bill instead of Clause 11 confers power of entry onto adjacent land, and Clause 8 of the bill instead of Clause 12 vests all hydrographic data in the state. I'd like to thank every honourable member who has spoken. Mr. Deputy Speaker said the debate has been of a quality that matches the seriousness of the subject, and I'd like to start out, I'm sure you will understand why, with the first member for Montagne Blanche and Grand River Southeast, Honourable Babulal. And I'd like also to comment today immediately on certain of the remarks that were made by the second member for Rodrigues, Honourable Francois, and I thank them for their contributions, substance and the specificity of the contributions. Now, the honourable member first member for Montagne Blanche, Grande Rivière Sud-Est, open with an image. He talked of a fishing boat, a cargo vessel, or a cruise ship somewhere in our 2.3 million square kilometers of ocean, tonight trusting a chart to tell its captain where the reef ends and safe water begins. He reminded us that the chart did not draw itself. He then said something I want to place at the very center of my reply. Data is the new coastline. Whoever holds it, in some real sense, holds the maps of our sovereignty. That well-turned phrase expresses precisely what Clause 8 of this bill provides for. Clause 8 states that all hydrographic data collected within the maritime zones of Mauritius shall be deemed the property of the state. It is, in the honourable member's own image, the clause that draws the new coastline. He also invoked in a passage I found genuinely moving his own faith tradition, the veneration of water as sacred, of Gangama, of Grand Bassin. He reminded us that if our faith teaches us to hold water sacred, this House owes no less a duty to protect the waters that sustain every citizen of this republic. That sentiment belongs not to a single party, but it belongs to Mauritius as a whole. The honourable member's first point asked plainly whether our long-standing cooperation with the Government of India, which has produced 12 nautical charts and 14 electronic navigational charts since 2006, will now require written authorization. The answer is plain and it requires no amendment. The bill does not disrupt our partnership with India. It formalizes it and reinforces it. The Indian Naval Hydrographic Department of Dehradun has, for decades, conducted its surveys in our waters at the invitation of the government of Mauritius, coordinated by the hydrographic unit of my ministry. That invitation is itself, in substance, an authorization of exactly the kind Clause 7 envisages. The bill gives that arrangement its proper statutory form. The 15 visits since 2006, the 12 paper charts, the 14 ENCs, of which Honourable Francois correctly noted, 3 cover Rodrigues and 2 cover Agalega. All of that work continues on a stronger footing. No Indian officer, no Mauritian officer, and no seafarer relying on an Indian-produced chart will read this bill as a step backwards. On the contrary, it is a step, many steps forward. The honourable member's second point concerned Clause 10. He observed that the clause contains no express requirement of prior notice, no express reference to compensation for damage, and no defined limit of frequency or duration. He spoke of the citizen of Montagne Blanche and the family with a modest beachfront plot. But not that very modest, really. You have a beachfront plot. Anyway, his concern rests with respect on a misreading of Clause 10, as though it stood alone. It does not. It stands within the general law of the Republic, and that is where the protections he seeks already reside. Under the general law, no officer may enter private land unreasonably, may enter at unreasonable hours, may cause damage without consequence, or may remain longer than necessary. Those constraints are embedded in our law of tort, in the constitutional protection of property, and in the ordinary judicial supervision of statutory powers. A landowner who suffers damage under Clause 10 retains every right of recourse he would have against any other public officer. Clause 10 does not diminish those rights, I can reassure you. The good faith immunity clause at Clause 12 has been raised in this connection. Clause 12 protects officers acting in good faith. It does not, it cannot immunize the state against liability for damage negligently or unreasonably caused. That is the settled effect of good faith immunity clauses in our law. The citizen of Montagne Blanche that you referred to in the modest beachfront property, and the family on the beachfront are already protected by the general law. Fear not. They do not require an amendment to this bill to be protected. We are here, you're there. And the Attorney General's Office has drafted the bill on that understanding. The Honourable Member's third point concerned the power of the Minister at Clause 11. He asked, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, whether I would accept an amendment requiring the Chief Hydrographer's annual report to be laid on the table of this House. He offered a well-turned phrase. I quote, "Sovereignty without accountability to this chamber is only half sovereignty." My answer is this principled one. The Chief Hydrographer, established under Clause 5, is a public officer answerable to the supervising officer of my ministry, and through him to me, and through me in the ordinary way of ministerial responsibility to this House. That is the constitutional architecture on which every department of government operates. Every member has at his disposal a full range of parliamentary instruments, questions, PNQs, adjournment matters, through which the activities of the MHS may indeed be scrutinized. Statutory tabling requirements attach properly to independent parastatal bodies. The MHS is not such a body. It is a department of my ministry, lean, integrated, and answerable to me directly. The bill has been drawn on that basis, and I do not propose, therefore, humbly I state, to alter its structure. The Honourable Member's fourth observation is Clause 14. He suggested that the maximum penalty might apply as heavily to a minor technical non-compliance as to deliberate falsification, and asked for proportionate tiers. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I do not accept the reading of Clause 14 on which that concern rests. Clause 14 does not impose the maximum penalty, it establishes it. Every criminal statute in this Republic operates on that same principle. The maximum is the ceiling. The sentence imposed is a matter for the court, applying proportionate sentencing to the gravity of the offence proved. You know that. A magistrate presented with a minor procedural non-compliance will impose a proportionate penalty. A court presented with a deliberate falsification of a chart, a document that can sink a ship, will impose a penalty matching that far graver harm. That is how our criminal law works. Comparable jurisdictions, Australia, New Zealand, and United Kingdom, impose maximum penalties of similar or greater magnitude in single-tier structures indistinguishable from Clause 14. The drafting is orthodox. The Honourable Member's fifth point concerned the definition of plot of land at Clause 2, which reaches both land and water. That breadth is intentional. Hydrographic survey work does not stop neatly at the high-level watermark. A tide gauge on a beachfront concession, a control station on a pas géométrique, a survey traverse across a lagoon, each requires the definition to reach both land and adjacent water. Narrowing it would create gaps in the operational reach of the service. Gaps falling inevitably in exactly the coastal zones where hydrographic knowledge is most urgent. The protections he sought for holders of pas géométrique and beachfront concessions reside, as I have explained, in the general law, not in any narrower definition at Clause 2. The Honourable Member made one further intervention that I feel bound to address, as he made a passage of it in French. Permit me to answer, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in the same language. L'honorable membre a rappelé à cette Chambre, avec une gravité qui l'honore, deux naufrages sur les récifs d'une même île. Le Saint-Gérant, il y a plus de 2 siècles au large de Poudre d'Or, et le Wakashio en juillet 2020 à Pointe-Desny avec ses 1000 tonnes de fuel déversées dans le lagon de Loubet. Il a demandé, I quote, « Les choses ont-elles vraiment changé entre les deux ? Ma réponse, Madame, Monsieur le Vice-président, est-ce que ce projet de loi correctement appliqué fait partie de la manière dont notre gouvernement répond à cette question? Non pas à lui seul, mais comme l'une des pièces essentielles d'un dispositif plus large, aux côtés de l'autorité portuaire, du National Coast Guard, du ministère de l'Environnement et de nos partenaires internationaux. The fact that the honourable member said what has changed between those two, for a fact, a lot has changed. You will never, ever see a government stoop so low as the ones you're sitting behind did for the Waukesha disaster. You know, and you, I know, agree how disastrous they led this country and how they created disaster, and thank God we got rid of those monsters. You know very well. The honourable member asked whether such clause 4, and I wouldn't sit behind them very long, come front, as to whether clause 4 should be amended to require explicit coordination with the Ministry of Environment. No such amendment is necessary. Clause 4 confers on the MHS the functions and powers necessary to further its objectives most effectively. And those functions include, by their necessary operation, coordination with every arm of government whose portfolio bears on the safety of our waters, to insert a specific reference to one ministry would by implication exclude the many others whose cooperation is equally necessary. The Coast Guard, the Port Authority, the Ministry of Blue Economy, the Meteorological Services, the Mauritius Oceanography Institute. That is the danger of legislative specificity in a clause designed for legislative reach. Clause 4 is drafted broadly and purposively so that it captures all such cooperation, not merely a specified subset of it. When I speak, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I turn to the intervention of Honourable Francois, a speech which demonstrated precisely why this House benefits from having a graduate surveyor technician amongst its members. His contribution was technical, specific to road rigs, and constructive. The concerns he has raised are concerns this government shares, and I'd like also to thank the Honourable Colette for her contribution that have been very constructive, and I listened very, very carefully. They remind us that the hydrographic history of road rigs stretching back to Bonn in 1780, Lieutenant Russell in 1822, Surveyor Shearwater in 1874, and the map published by the British Navy hydrographer Evans in February 1876. That history is not antiquarian detail. It is the reason why, of the 14 ENCs produced for Mauritius to date, 3 cover road rigs and 2 cover Agalega. The Honourable Member, Francois, raised specific operational matters which I address not by amending the bill, which is not necessary, but by placing on the record my understanding of how they fit within the framework the bill establishes. On Port Maturin, the Honourable Member observed that the last maintenance dredging of the main channel was in 1990, and the annex channel in 2009. That is a legitimate operational concern, and precisely the kind of concern that the MHS once established under Clause 3 and mandated under Clause 4 will be well placed to address. Port Maturin will be among the operational priorities that the service, in consultation with the Mauritius Ports Authority and the Road Rigs Regional Assembly, considers. I do not propose to constrain the Chief Hydrographer in advance of his appointment by tabling a fixed timeline from here. What I can say is that the concern will not be lost. It will be considered, and considered seriously. On SEMPA and the survey requirements of Rodrigues, the Honourable Member identified bathymetric characterization of the lagoon, sedimentation of the navigable channels, current parameter monitoring, and hydrographic coverage of Blanc de l'Est and Hawkins Bay. Each falls squarely within the functions of the service under Clause 4. They are legitimate matters for the service to address as part of its operational work program, and the Chief Hydrographer is setting priorities, will do so in the light of the needs of the entire Republic, road rigs prominently among them. On Rodrigan officers within the service, I want to be candid. I am not prepared to write into this bill a particular operational substructure because to do so would tie the hands of the chief hydrographer, not yet appointed, but I share the sentiment. The service of this bill establishes will be a service for the whole Republic. It will draw its officers from the whole Republic. The staffing under Clause 6 permits the supervising officer to designate such officers as may be necessary. And there is nothing in the bill and nothing in this government's intention that would exclude the participation of Rodrigan officers in that designation. The service will be a national service, and Rodrigues is indeed part of this nation. On the digital ocean information ecosystem, the Honourable Member described Clause 4 includes the exchange, access control and sharing of hydrographic data. That is the statutory foundation on which an ecosystem can be built in cooperation with the meteorological services, the Mauritius Oceanography Institute, the Ports Authority and the technical services of the Rodrigues Regional Assembly. The bill does not prescribe the technical form of that cooperation, nor should it, but it opens the way. On climate resilience, the Honourable Member, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, reminded us that more than 37 kilometres of our coastline, 17.6% of the total, is affected by erosion. The Honourable Minister of Environment also made reference to those figures. And that we are committed to a blue carbon inventory of our EEZ by 2035. The connection with this bill is direct. A service established under Clause 3, mandated under Clause 4, holding data vested in the Republic under Clause 8, is precisely the vehicle through which the evidence base for coastal defence and the blue carbon inventory will be assembled. Monsieur le Vice-président, je ne saurais conclure sans reprendre à mon compte l'observation de l'honorable membre pour Rodrigue. Nous débattons aujourd'hui, c'était le 14 juillet, un programme de loi maritime. Et I must say that I was quite impressed by the remarks made from the member for Rodrigues on the 14th of July and the member for Rodrigues today as well. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the Honourable Member for Montagne Blanche and Grande Rivière Sud-Est closed this intervention with an old maritime saying attributed to John A. Shedd. I quote, "A ship in harbour is safe, but that is not what ships are built for." He said rightly that this bill was not built to sit safely in harbour and be examined. It was built to sail. This bill is ready to sail, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in the form in which the government has laid it before this House. It has been carefully prepared, carefully consulted, and carefully drafted to sit correctly within the general law of the Republic. It answers within its four corners every concern that has been raised in this debate, some by express provision, others by necessary operation of its clauses within our broader legal order. It does not, in the government's respectful view, require amendment. I thank the Honourable First Member for Montagne Blanche Grande Rivière Sud-Est for the contribution and his seriousness. I thank every other member who has spoken, my two minister colleagues as well. And I'd like to state the following, that neither member's concern will be lost. They will all remain part of the record against which the service is held to account through the ordinary instruments of this House and through the ordinary channels of ministerial responsibility. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
You have to commend the bill to the House.
To the House. Okay.
Seconded. The question is that the Mauritius Hydrographic Services Bill, number 11 of 2026, be read a second time. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Public Bills Committee stage.
Please use your seats. Be seated.
Clause 1, short title. Clause 2, interpretation. Clause 3, establishment of MHS. Clause 4, functions and powers of MHS. Clause 5, chief hydrographer of MHS. Clause 6, staff of MHS. Clause 7, hydrographic survey. Clause 8, data submission and data ownership. Clause 9, official nautical charts and marine geospatial information. Clause 10, powers of entry. Clause 11, powers of minister. Clause 12, protection from liability. Clause 13, confidentiality. Clause 14, offences. Clause 15, regulations. Clause 16, savings. Clause 17, commencement.
The question is that clauses 1 to 17 stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Title and enacting clause.
The question is that the title and enacting clause stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The question is that I do report to the House that the Mauritius Hydrographic Services Bill number 11 of 2026 has passed the committee stage without amendment. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Please be seated. Honourable members, I have to report to the House that the Mauritius Hydrographic Services Bill number 11 of 2026 has passed the committee stage without amendment.
Public bills, third reading.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I move that the Mauritius Hydrographic Services Bill number 11 of 2026 be read a third time and passed.
Seconded. The question is that the Mauritius Hydrographic Services Bill number 11 of 2026 be read the third time and passed. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. We'll break for half an hour.